Mara slipped through the thrumming atrium of the Pangalactic Institute like a shadow in the machine, her eyes flicking to the recessed sensor nodes pulsing faint blue along the vaulted ceilings. 7 days in, and she'd already traced the patrol loops of the Cathari guards, clockwise every 14 minutes from the east vents, with a 3-second blind spot at the hydroponic cascade. She adjusted her satchel, feigning a hunch as the shy xenobiology freshman, heart rate steady at 52 beats per minute despite the alien stares boring into her from all sides. A hulking Voreth student lumbered past, its trunk-like appendages brushing too close. She sidestepped without breaking stride, cataloging its chemo signals, agitated, territorial. Exit Alpha 7, 20 meters ahead, masked as a service hatch behind illusory foliage. Security cams swept in a predictable arc. She timed her drift perfectly, vanishing into the crowd of chittering Arcturans before the lens could lock. In the dim council chamber deep within the Institute's administrative spire, Dr. Talon Vesk stood before the holographic dais, his scaled fingers steepled over the flickering data veil. The council, 7 species reps in high-backed thrones, leaned forward, their collective gaze heavy as null grav. Human enrollment has spiked 14% this cycle, Talon said, his voice a precise rasp. From fringe curiosities to a cohort, we must quantify their thresholds. Counselor Lurak, a tentacled Velori, rippled in unease. They're primitives, why provoke? Talon zoomed the holomap, overlaying red stress nodes on human dorms and commons. Not provocation, calibration. Routine upgrades, microsensors in vents, behavioral algos in cafeterias, discrete stress tests. A scuffle here, a resource pinch there. We map aggression curves before they fractalize. His mandible clicked softly. Unmodeled variables like these humans gnawed at him, their smiles hiding jagged edges. The council murmured assent, votes cascading green, masked as maintenance. Perfect. Jace Morno's grin cut through the campus commons like a plasma torch as he snagged Mara's elbow mid-stride. Ivers. First week's survival check. You're officially drafted. He tugged her toward the cluster of human tables under the bioluminescent canopy, where a dozen new arrivals hunched over synth protein bowls, laughing too loud to drown the alien scrutiny. Mara let him pull her along, her body loose but senses threading the group. The wiry girl from Luna Colony, eyes darting too much, coercible under isolation. The broad-shouldered kid from Titan, fists clenched, prone to rash charges. I'm fine solo, she murmured, sliding into a seat. Jace dropped beside her, slinging an arm over the back. Bull, we're 20 humans in a sea of 1,000,000. Welcome, Bash, loosen up, or you'll calcify. His easy charm masked the steel in his eyes. He believed in this, in proving humans fit without fangs. Mara nodded, smiling faintly, but her mind etched vulnerabilities. Who cracks first under pressure, who sells out for safety. In the packed xenobiology lecture hall, rail nicks shifted in their perch 2 rows behind Mara, tendrils twitching as the empathic waves washed over the room. Quellians felt emotions like tides, fear salty, joy effervescent, but Mara's presence hit like a void, a deliberate hush amid the classmates' buzzing nerves. Professor droned on symbiotic neural nets. Mara scribbled notes, posture perfect introvert but 0 bleed. Curiosity prickled Rail's spines. After class, Rail tapped their wristcom, filing the routine report. Student Ivers, human cohort. Anomalous effect suppression. Possible neurodamp or cultural variance. Monitor. Harmless protocol, career insurance. But the ping routed straight to Talon's aggregation filters, lighting Mara's file yellow. The cafeteria erupted without warning. 2 minor species, a snarling pack of Pharaxi and a lone hulking Grum, shoving over trays near the human tables. Shards of plasteel flew. The Grum's paw closed on a jagged edge, twisting it toward blade point as Pharaxi yipped taunts. Staged, Mara clocked instantly, 2 synchronized, eyes flicking to cams. The tray arced toward a human kid's throat, Jace half rising with a curse. Mara moved. Not a lunge, a glide, frame rate defying blur. Her fingers ghosted the Grum's wrist, pressure perfect to spasm its grip. The tray clattered harmless, redirected into a spill. She sank back, murmuring, clumsy, as Jace blinked, the humans none the wiser. Heart thrummed once, then settled. Invisible. In his security sanctum, Talon froze the footage at 0.47 seconds, the human female, Mara Ivers, intervening. Frame skipped, her arm extended mid-motion, a smear where flesh should pixel crisp. Enhance Sector 9, he ordered the console. The anomaly sharpened, reflexes clocking 4.2x baseline. His scales itched, not standard human. Cross-check records, biometrics, priors, psych evals, deep scan, no alerts, and spool her dorm feeds. The console hummed compliance, threads weaving into her file. Talon leaned back, modeling probabilities, outlier or engineered. The void grew. Myra's wristcom vibrated in her dorm alcove, the glyph sequence decoding in her neural implant. Security posture shift, probes active. Vectors council linked. Maintain shadow or cull source? ETA. The handler's warning hit like cold steel. Myra's fingers traced the scar on her palm from Project Havoc's last sim. Stay invisible. Play the shy student, let the cohort breathe. Cling to this fragile normalcy with Jace's laughs and quiet nights. Or hunt. Slip the leash, trace the probes to their architect, end the testing before it mapped her kind's breaking point. Her reflection stared back from the polished bulkhead, eyes too sharp, body too still. The quiet life frayed at the edges, one pull and it unraveled. She exhaled, decision crystallizing. No more mapping shadows. She'd find the one testing her species, their thresholds, their fangs, before they profiled the predator in the freshman's skin, before they forced her hand wide open. Mara melted into the Nexus corridor's gloom, her breath a controlled vapor in the chilled after-curfew air. Data stacks hummed like distant hives, their access ports glowing faint blue under drone patrol sweeps. She timed her pulse to the patrol rhythm. 3 seconds arc left, pause, arc right. Then ghosted forward, body low and fluid, augmentations damping her heat signature to match the walls. A drone word passed, its sensor array brushing inches from her cheek. She froze mid-stride, muscles locked in predatory stillness until its scan ping faded. Close, but not enough to burn her cover. The guise of late-night xenobiology cramming held. Her satchel bulged with fabricated notes on Quellian neural webs, a perfect undergrad prop. The Nexus core loomed, a vaulted chamber of interlocking crystal lattices pulsing with institute traffic. Myra slipped a microtether from her cuff, non-metallic, woven from dorm fiber composites, and jacked it into a maintenance port. Lines of code bloomed in her overlaid vision, her pattern recognition slicing through authorization logs like a scalpel. There, Vesk Talon, security director, timestamped override 18 hours prior. Enhanced monitoring, human cohort alpha. Priority, behavioral thresholds under stress. Cross-reference with incident file 47X, her gut tightened. He wasn't just watching, he was asterisk cataloging, provoking responses, stacking data to paint humans as ticking threats. Her fingers itched to purge it all, but she logged the proof to her encrypted implant instead. Ghost out clean. By dawn cycle, the human dorm lounge buzzed with cohort energy. Jay stood at the hollow table, his engineer's grin splitting wide as he projected schematics. A graviton stabilizer rig hybrid human-alien design, pitched for the upcoming expo. Picture it, he said, voice carrying that cocky lift that drew eyes. Our enclave leads the build. Quellians handle empathic interfaces, Cathari grids for stability. We prove humans aren't just survivors, we innovate. Allies, status, the works. Rail leaned against a pillar, tendrils twitching with interest. 2 other aliens from BioCluster nodded along. Mara sat peripheral, nursing a synth-T, her gaze flicking from Jace's animated gestures to the lounge cams. Too bright, Jace, too visible. His pitch screamed leverage point, rally the hopefuls, make him the face. Talon's metrics would love that, one loud human to squeeze. She flagged it internally, a quiet hazard note, but saying it aloud, that cracked her shy facade. Solid angles, she murmured when eyes turned her way, keeping it vague. Jace shot her a wink, oblivious to the predator calculus running beneath her calm. Across campus, in the security wing's sterile glow, Rail faced Talon Vesk's desk. The Cathari's scales gleamed under adjustable lights, his datapad arrayed like a general's map. Your Quellian gift is underutilized, Talon said, voice smooth as oiled servos. Informal observer, human social clusters, emotional readouts only, no direct intervention. Notes funneled through my office. Favor follows, priority scholarships, references. Rail's empathy field prickled at the undercurrent, calculated benevolence masking control. Harmless data, asterisk they thought, ambition coiling tight. Institute favor meant survival beyond scholarships, a buffer against their homeworld's debts. Humans fascinated anyway, that voided resilience in Mara especially. I accept, Rail said, tendrils signing assent. Emotional notes clean. Talon's mouth curved fractionally. Excellent, begin with today's drill. The alert klaxon ripped through the human dorms at Cycle Peak, red strobes pulsing. Lockdown drill, evac protocols, Dorm 7 to muster points, compliance mandatory. Mara's room sealed with a hydraulic hiss, her cohort scrambling in the hall beyond. She felt the combat conditioning surge, reflexes priming for breach points, exits, improvised weapons. Suppress. Heart rate clamped to baseline, movements deliberate and slow. She shuffled to the evac line with Jace, hands visible empty. No predatory scans, no threat prioritization. Just a startled undergrad clutching her satchel. In the muster yard, drones cataloged. Response times, eye flicks to shadows, grip tensions. Jace joked through it, Institute's paranoia workout, easing the group. Mara mirrored the comm, but her implants traced the anomalies, elevated scans on humans alone, cross-linked to Vesk's Nexus override. Back in her room, post-drill quiet settling, she swept for bugs. Their ceiling panel, micronode the size of a lens, pulsing faint. Talon's eyes, personal, rip it out. Too noisy, flagged absence. Instead, she tethered her micro-tool, spoofing its feed, looped footage of her studying, vitals flatlined to boredom. A ping ghosted her implant, one-use hollow, Edda's signature. The projection flickered in her palm, the commander's face scarred and stern, eyes like chipped flint. Mara, stand down, no proactive strikes, self-defense only. Edda's voice cut low, urgent. Political eyes everywhere, council reps sniffing for excuses. We leashed you for a reason. Provocation plays into their hands. Mara's jaw clenched. He's profiling us, Commander. Threshold tests. Nexus logs confirm. Edda leaned closer, hollow static crackling. Logged. Handled remotely. Your job, blend, survive. Unleash only if they force fangs first. The channel burned out, leaving afterimage silence. Alone now, curfew deepening, Mara moved with surgical quiet. Campus materials only. Dorm fiber cord from her laundry kit. Sharpened stylus from the Fab Lab scrap. Non-metallic, sensor blind. She wove the cord into a garrote loop, honed the stylus to monomolecular edge with a pilfered chemabrasive. Components clicked into a hilt from recycled holopad casing, invisible to standard sweeps. Her hands didn't shake. This wasn't rage, it was resolve crystallizing colder. If he crosses the line, against Jace, the cohort, any human here, I'll kill on Institute soil. The weapon vanished into her cuff sheath, a promise weighing like old war scars. In the security sanctum, Talon reviewed the drill metrics, scales rasping satisfaction. Human baselines held mostly. But anomalies flickered, Mara's perfect suppression too even. He keyed authorization, voice steady. Initiate controlled provocation, target cohort alpha, force the first crack. Doctor. Talon Vesk's claws clicked across the holodable as the tactical ethics seminar loaded its parameters. Teams randomized, he announced, his voice a smooth grate over the chamber's hum. Human cohort alpha, Jace, Mara, and 3 others. Locked into grid sector 7, resource caches skewed thin, threat spawns clustered to force the dilemma. Abandon alien partners to simulated raiders or watch the whole op collapse. Mara's implants hummed faintly under her skin, parsing the spawn algorithms in a blink. Biases everywhere, Cathari-coded, no doubt. Extra aggressors on human flanks, medkits locked behind alien-only biolocks. She slouched in her sim rig, feigning the wide-eyed undergrad freeze while her mind mapped exploits. Play dumb, she thought. No cracks yet. The grid erupted. Hollow raiders swarmed from vents, plasma ghosts scorching virtual bulkheads. Jace barked orders, his avatar hauling a Quellian teammate, Rail's Simproxy, clear of a blast. More, no, cover the civvy, Talon prompted from the overlook, eyes gleaming. Mara lagged deliberately, her reflexes chained to half speed. She spotted the third path, overload the east conduit with junk debris, reroute power to jam the spawns without tripping the alien sacrifice metric. Costly, drain human reserves dry, tank their scores, but everyone extracts. Her fingers danced suboptimal on the controls, whispering the hack through back channels. Conduit buckled, threats stuttered offline. Contact lost, Talon murmured into his comm, scales twitching. Anomalous efficiency, not panic-driven. Jace's team staggered out first, all proxies intact. Cheers rippled from alien rigs, but human chatter soured in the post-brief. Mara peeled off her helmet, sweat beating genuine from the throttle, and caught Jace cornered by Kyle and Lena, Cohort Alpha's loudmouths. "You let that NPC human get vaped for a frigging quell?" Kyle snarled, jabbing a finger. "Proves their point we're soft on our own." Jace flushed, scrubbing his scalp. "It was real-time ethics. Save the live alien over a ghost code. That's the play." "Shows we're not the monsters they think," Lena spat. "Your play, now with a punchline." Mara edged closer, silent, her gut twisting at Jace's earnest fracture, idealism cracking under the weight. Rail lingered at their console, neural filaments retracting with a soft chime as they uploaded readouts. Jace's spike, raw guilt laced with defiance. Mara's, flatline calm, pressure mounting like a void swallowing stress. No fear bleed, no adrenaline surge. Aberrant. Rail's tendrils quivered. They forwarded the packet to Talon with a flagged query. "Human variance, hunter subtype?" Talon's sanctum lit with the data. Jace, predictable primate loyalty pivot. Mara, suppression 2 absolute, efficiency masked as error. His rasp deepened into a smile. "Isolate her pairings, leak the aggregates." By midday, anonymized stats flooded peer nets. Human teams 27% failure on mixed ops, altruism skews tactical collapse. Whispers coiled through the atrium. Quellians clustered tighter. Vorath engineers cited risk metrics to dodge joint labs. Jace's lunch invite from a Cathari group ghosted. Mara's cohort shrank inward, eyes darting at shadows. She watched it fracture from a balcony rail, fists clenched on plasteel. Hold pattern. But the fresher hit harder. In the Xenotech wing, first-year Priya Patel stood before the cross-species colloid research committee, hollow resume glowing flawless. Chair, a dour Luraxi, tilted its frills. "Security clearance denied. Aggregate unreliability flags." Priya's voice cracked. "On what data my sim scores? Institute policy." The committee dispersed, frills rustling dismissal. Mara's blood thrummed, vision tunneling on the Luraxi's retreating spines. Storm in, demand logs, expose the smear's teeth. No, too loud. She melted into the crowd instead, trailing at distance. Implants tracked, Luraxi to Vesk's deputy, then a sub-level sync with Talon's net. Pattern-forming vetting lists cross-reference to Cohort Alpha, not random, culling. Night clamped the campus alleys in sodium haze. Mara's comm buzzed, Jace, voice tight. "Priya's down, medbay, mugging. Get here." She ghosted to the alley off Habitat Ring C, where yellow tape fluttered under drone lights. Priya lay on a gurney, face swollen, ribs taped, eyes glassy with painkillers. "Jumped me," she mumbled. 3 shadows, grabbed like pros. Mara knelt, gloved hand brushing the restraint bruises on Priya's wrists. Not street scrabble, precise torque angles, thumb locks matching Cathari marine holds. Training grips dialed to injure without kill. Live test. Talon's provocation gone kinetic. Cohort cracking. Jace hovered at the alley mouth, fists balled. "Cops calling it random. Bull, we pair up from now." Myra's gaze locked past him, pulse steadying to predator rhythm. Enough defense. Her hand ghosted her thigh pocket, feeling the concealed monoblade's edge. Hunt them. Find the shadows, peel the string to Talon. Offense meant tracks, cam anomalies, blood if sloppy. Exposure. The quiet life with Jace's laughs, Rail's wary probes. Shatter. She rose, voice low. "I'll handle recon, alone." Jace's eyes narrowed. "Mara, trust me." Lie tasted bitter. She slipped into the dark, augmentations uncoiling. Human no more, or just enough to end this. The alley's chill bit deep as she picked the first trail. A scuff-marked Cathari scale flake glinting under moonlight. Hunt on, risk everything. Mara crouched in the shadowed overhang of a service duct, her fingers tracing the faint drone path etchings on the wall, microabrasions from repulsor wakes. The assault site sprawled below, cordoned off with flickering holotape, but the gaps screamed louder than the official logs. Drones had looped wide here, blind spots chaining like deliberate links. 5 minutes unmonitored at 23:47, sync to patrol reroutes from Central Command. Talon's signature authorization pulled from a hacked auxiliary feed, not negligence. A test, sanctioned. Her pulse stayed even, augmentations filtering the night's metallic tang. Edda's last encrypted whisper echoed, "Asterisk stand down, Ivers. We extract quiet." But quiet meant more human kids in alleys, throats opened like the one whose blood still crusted her boots. Mara uncoiled, silent as vapor, trailing the scuff mark's owner. A Cathari operative, scales dulled under curfew lamps, fumbling a data slate in the maintenance corridor. He never heard her. She ghosted behind improvised garrote, thin alloy cable from a vent panel, looping his neck in one fluid pull. His claws scrabbled air. She twisted, knee driving his spine flat against cold, grate flooring. "Sweep plans," she hissed, breath hot on his frill. "Talk or I harvest your implants wet." Violet blood flecked her gloves as he choked out a code. Her neural link sucked the slate dry. Tomorrow's human-only patrol, neural stunners hidden in dorm vents, isolation tags prepped. Proof, Talon's Labrat roundup. She zip-tied his jaws, dosed him with his own tranq dart, and melted into the dark. Etta would understand. Or not. Humanity first. Dawnlight clawed through the corridor grates when Jace Morno ducked in, chasing a glitch in the engineering feeds. His boots skidded on damp residue, disinfectant, acrid and fresh. He froze. Camera mount bare, wires snipped clean. And there a thumb smear of violet on the bulkhead, half-wiped. Not alien turf war, precise, human, his gut knotted. Mara. The way she'd vanished last night, eyes flat as void. He sprinted to her dorm pod, slamming the access panel. She was there, stripping bloodied gloves, face a mask. "Jace, what the fuck, Mara?" He jabbed at the corridor hollow he'd snapped. "Violet blood, missing cam." "That's Kethari security, you jumped one, on campus." She didn't flinch. Augmentations locked her tells down. "Had to, they're sweeping us tomorrow. Neural traps, Talons running experiments." "Experiments by killing one of theirs?" Jace's voice cracked, fists balled. Idealist fire in his eyes dimmed to something colder. "You're a hunter, real one, not just survivor stories from the wars. You've done this before. Here." Silence stretched brutal. She nodded once. "Project Havoc, bred for it, killed raiders, now, threats to us." Jace recoiled, stepping back like she'd burned him. "Us, you're validating every slur. Humans snap, feral under stress. One body and Talon gets his data. We were building something real here, Yumi, the Enclave, peaceful proof. Now, you're the monster they expect." Her chest tightened, human ache piercing the predator calm. "Better me than you in a stun cage." He turned for the door, shoulders rigid. "Maybe I don't want your kind of safe." The panel hissed shut. Fracture clean. In the security directorate's dim-lit chamber, Dr. Talon Vesk steepled his claws over the profile hollows. Rail nicks shifted opposite, empath tendrils twitching under their hood. Quellians hated enclosed spaces, but ambition overrode nausea. "Deepen the scans, Nix," Talon said, voice silk over steel. "Ivers and Morno." Emotional baselines insufficient. The Institute demands precision before escalation. Rail's mind raced. Career pivot, one report seals tenure. But Mara's void, those crisis flatlines like a predator's shutdown, itched at their loyalty. Jace's raw fear now spiking post-confrontation. "Director, they're stressed. Human norm." "Flatlines aren't norm." Talon's eyes narrowed, data feeds flickering. "Ivers voids under pressure. Catalog it, or your scholarship reviews stall." Weakness 1. Rail forwarded the packet. Subject Ivers exhibits anomalous emotional suppression during simulated threats. Profile match. Engineered predator response. Branded. Talon nodded dismissal. Rail fled, guilt coiling like smoke. Mara moved before full darkfall, stolen intel burning in her implants. Human dorm wing, sublevels, vent traps primed, emitters humming faint ozone. She ghosted the shafts, fingers prying panels silent. First cluster neural pulse mines, disarmed with a shunt wire, coils fried to scrap. Second, gas dispersal nodes, valves crushed. Third, proximity stunners, circuits looped dead. One sensor remained. Tiny Talon's eyes blinking red in the gloom. Disable it, blind him clean. But no, let him see compromise. Let him know a hunter watched back. She slipped out, leaving it live. Talon's command nexus lit with alerts at 200. Feeds showed shadows dismantling his sweep, precise, traceless, but for that taunt, intact watcher node. His frill flared. Variable uncontained. Time to formalize. By morning council feed, Institute decree beamed campus-wide. Protective custody protocol, human cohort alpha. Enhanced monitoring for safety amid recent anomalies. Voluntary compliance requested. Framed mercy. Legal net isolate tag detain at will. Mara felt the noose as her slate pinged. Student Ivers report to Security Directorate 900. Director Vesk. Mandatory. She stared at the summons, pulse steady, trap or bait. Either way, resolve time, human enough or unleash. Mara crushed the summons chip in her fist, the polymer cracking like dry bone under her grip. She straightened her Institute tunic and strode into the scanner-veiled chamber, the air humming with invisible webs of detection fields that prickled her augmented skin. Talon Vesk waited at the obsidian table, his Cathari scales gleaming under recessed lights, 4 eyes fixed on her with predatory calm. "Miss Ivers," he said, voice a silken rasp, "your xenobiology thesis on adaptive predator responses caught my attention. Humans see patterns others miss. Join my elite threat assessment initiative, cross-species. You'll shape security policy from within." She slid into the seat opposite, forcing her shoulders to slump in feigned deference. Scanners whirred faintly, mapping her vitals, her micro-expressions. "An honor, Director. Humans need a voice here." His mandibles clicked approval. "Precisely. Observation protocols will ensure transparency. We start tomorrow." Mara nodded, smile brittle. Outwardly compliant, the shy undergrad playing her part. Inside, resolve hardened like forged alloy. She'd burrow into his web, twist his data, shield the cohort. Normal life, Jace's laughs, quiet dorm nights, slipped further away, but humans didn't abandon their own. The door hissed shut behind her as she exited, but the real storm brewed hours later in the human embassy annex. Commander Etta Kor loomed in the shadowed booth, her black uniform scarred from old raids, eyes like chipped flint. "You idiot," Etta snarled, slamming a fist on the shielded console. Hollow screens flickered with Myra's acceptance feed. "Talon's spotlight. Your Project Havoc's ghost, girl. We disavowed it years ago, official records scrubbed. One slip and no diplomat pulls you out." "Your meat," Myra met her gaze, unflinching. "Cohorts exposed, I buy them time." Etta's laugh was a bark laced with old grief. "Time, you're the weapon we broke kids to build. Leash it or you'll drag us all down." She jabbed a finger at Myra's chest. "Extract if it burns." "That's the order." Myra walked out into the neon-lit corridors, Etta's words gnawing like rust. No cover, just her. Deep in the Institute's sublevels, Talon bypassed standard channels with an encrypted override. The previously assaulted human student, pale, broken from the earlier beating, lay strapped in a hover gurney, wheeled into an off-grid medical wing. No logs, no oversight. Talon's aides initiated the stress cascade. Sonic pulses at threshold frequencies, holographic swarms mimicking raider assaults, neural probes mapping rage thresholds. "Document everything," Talon murmured, watching the boy's vitals spike on the array. "Resilience curves. Breakdown vectors, prove the anomaly." The subject thrashed, screams echoing off sterile walls, but Talon only adjusted parameters. Data was truth. Rail Nix felt it first as a sour ripple in the air, their Quellian senses drowning in the wing's empathic static. Assigned as consultant to calibrate emotional baselines, they hovered at the observation pane, tendrils twitching. The human's mind frayed under the onslaught, fear spiking into dissociation, edges of permanent fracture blooming like rot. This wasn't assessment. It was vivisection. Guilt coiled in Rail's gut, sharp as betrayal. They'd inched into Talon's program for credits, for favor. Now Mara's void-quiet presence haunted them, a human worthier than this. Fingers flying over a shadowlink, Rail leaked partial lab schedules to Mara's encrypted drop. Timestamps, guard rotations, the subject's ID. Atonement or suicide. They didn't care anymore. Jace Morneau hunched over his graviton schematics in the engineering quad, the rift with Mara a raw ache. Her silences since the assault screaming secrets he couldn't touch. Footsteps approached. A cluster of students, mixed species, led by a fiery Lauren activist named Kiri. "Jace, humans are dying quiet," Kiri said, eyes fierce. "Security sweeps, flagged dorms, its segregation by stealth. We protest tomorrow, nonviolent blockade in Central Plaza. Show the galaxy we're not animals." He hesitated, cocky grin fading. Quiet compliance had failed, bodies piled up. Myra would hate the spotlight, but screw it. "I'm in. Pressure works where begging doesn't." Dawn broke over Central Plaza, banners unfurling like wounds. Equality or extinction. 24 protesters linked arms, humans at the core, Jace's voice booming through a stolen amp. "No more flags, no more cages," drones hummed overhead. Then Talon's voice crackled galaxy-wide. "Emergency protocol, unrest poses threat, containment initiated for safety." Barriers slammed down, irising from the plaza flagstones like steel jaws. Fields crackled, hurting the crowd. Security drones tagged humans with stunners, Jace first, Bolt sizzling his shoulder, then the others. "Protective relocation," the bots droned, cuffs snapping on wrists. Jace twisted, shouting, "This is proof, you're the threats." Talon watched from command, mandibles curving. Perfect chaos, variables isolated. Mara stood at the plaza's edge, half hidden in the throng, rails leak burning in her implant. Jace's face twisted in the cuff glow, eyes locking on hers for a split second, betrayal, plea, fury. Talon's net snapped tight. Her new role demanded she stand aside, observe, report, play human, or break it all. Silent steps, predator reflexes coiling, cover intact, cohort fractures. Unleash and the quiet life shatters forever, Edda right, havoc unbound, pulse steady. Trap or bait? Choose. Mara's fingers danced across the concealed neural shunt at her temple, a ghost touch that bypassed the dampeners she'd sworn to keep locked. Override complete. Restraints shattered like brittle glass in her mind, unleashing the hunter protocols, pattern floods cascading through her synapses, mapping every force field emitter, every containment node pulsing in the plaza's lockdown grid. She moved. Silent as voidfall, she ghosted between the screaming knot of trapped students, her body a blur of adaptive precision. The first node hummed at knee height, its azure barrier pinning 24 protesters against the plaza's ferrocrete. Mara's hand snapped out, microfilament claws extending from her gauntlets, unseen, unregistered, severing the power conduit with a whisper spark. The field collapsed, rerouting surplus energy in a cascade she predicted 3 moves ahead. She slapped a jury-rigged shunt onto the adjacent emitter, flipping its polarity. A corridor yawned open, students stumbling through in blind panic. "Go," she hissed to the nearest cluster, her voice a thread under the chaos. They surged, a human-alien mix spilling toward the outer ring. Node 2, 3, her reflexes chained the disables, body weaving through ricocheting stun rounds like water through stone. Force fields bent, twisted under her redirects, carving escape veins through the plaza's death-trap geometry. Jace crouched behind a toppled vendor cart, heart slamming as non-lethal slugs whined off its reinforced lip. Protesters hurled debris, loose panels, shattered lumens, into impromptu barricades, buying seconds against the advancing security phalanx. Cathari enforcers in matte black exosuits poured from the flanks, gel rounds splattering flesh and fur, dropping bodies in twitching heaps. Then he saw her, Mara, not the quiet Zenobio girl who'd shared late-night ration packs with him. She flowed through the melee like a specter, limbs extending in arcs no human joint should allow, disabling nodes with strikes too fast to track. A guard swung a stun baton her way. She pivoted, elbow fracturing his visor before he hit the ground limp. Weapon, Jace thought, rumors crystallizing into brutal truth. She's a fucking weapon. Pride warred with terror in his gut. He wanted to shout her name, join her, but his legs locked as another barrier fell, funneling him toward freedom she carved from nothing. In the security core, Talon Vesk's claws tightened on his console, multi-spectrum feeds blooming across the holoarray. The plaza dissolved into frenzy, protesters clashing with his teams, barriers buckling under human-orchestrated sabotage. And there, grainy enhancement locked on the figure dismantling his grid. Human, augmented, predictable escalation, his mandibles clicked in cold satisfaction. "Lockdown inner ring," he barked into the comm. "Full seal. Authorized live ammo protocols, any unidentified hostile is priority neutralization." Feeds shifted, broadcasting her image-pale face smeared with plaza grime, eyes like targeting reticules across every internal channel. "Alert all sectors, human terror cell confirmed. This operative is provoking systemic response to justify invasion. Log and propagate evidence of irredeemable aggression." Alarms wailed anew, bulkheads slamming down, sealing the Institute's heart. Talon's analyst scrambled, but he already modeled the vectors. Provoke, contain, catalog the savagery. Rail Nix felt the empathic backlash like a migraine spike, waves of terror from the plaza crashing against their Quellian senses, laced with Talon's icy certainty bleeding through the network. They huddled in a side corridor, access pad glowing under frantic taps. Mara and Jace's icons blinked on their overlay, escape corridors flickering alive amid the red tide of security pings. Choose, asterisk Rail thought, ambition curdling against the void pull of Myra's muted aura, now cracked open into something feral and raw. Fingers flew. Empathic access codes, hardwired for crisis de-escalation, flooded Talon's target lists, scrambling priorities into nonsense. Low-threat protesters flagged lethal, herder drones chasing ghosts. "Fuck your models," Rail muttered, burning their security clearance in a data cascade. Alarms tagged them compromised, the hierarchy bridge torched in seconds. But Jace's desperate ping lit their calm. Rail, she's buying us time. And Mara's shadow loomed in their mind, a loyalty sharper than career suicide. They bolted for the fray, aligning with the humans. Mara didn't pause for gratitude. The medical wing squatted off-grid, a black site burrow talon reserved for specimens. She hit its perimeter at a predator's lope, guards materializing from shadow niches. The first lunged with a shock prod. Her forearm parried, neural strike crumpling his throat, unconscious, not dead. Restrain the kill. Second guard fired a slug rifle. She rolled, adaptive camo flickering her outline to plaza gray, then rose inside his guard, knee-shattering patella, elbow to temple dropping him crippled but breathing. Trail of wreckage behind her, groans echoing off sterile walls, she breached the isolation vault. Inside, the human student from days prior hung in restraint webbing, eyes vacant, mind flayed by neural probes. Whimpers escaped him, fragmented. They peeled it out. No more me? Mara's stomach knotted, the cost of her hesitation slamming home. Waited too long. This is what hiding buys. She slashed the restraints, cradling his limp form, pattern recognition screaming incoming sweeps. Her implant chimed, Edda-Core's encrypted burst from orbit. Extraction window live, Mara. Narrow corridor, 10 minutes max. Orbital jammings thin. We punch a shuttle lane or lose it. Your call, evac criticals or embed solo. Mara hauled the broken student toward the plaza's fading egress, Jace rendezvousing with a cluster of vulnerable humans, wounded protesters, isolated exchange kids. Rail appeared, panting, empathic glow dimmed by backlash. List scrambled. Go now. Corridor hummed open overhead, shuttle silhouette blotting stars. Edda's voice crackled. 60 seconds, who's boarding? Jace gripped her arm, eyes wide with the truth of her. Mara, with us, you're not. No, the word cut like a blade. She shoved him toward the ramp, then the broken student, then the others. 5 souls total, humanity's fragile campus foothold. Get them out. Dismantle from inside. That's me. Jace resisted half a second, horror twisting his face, but Rail pulled him aboard. Ramp sealed. Shuttle thundered up, corridor collapsing in a fire-laced snap. Alone now. Face plastered on every screen, asterisk terror cell prime asterisk. Security swarms converging. Mara's pulse steadied, hunter core purring. Talon's core loomed ahead, fortified bulkheads pulsing with live ammo sentries. Kill or be caged. She flexed her claws, vanishing into the vents. Mara dropped from the vent grill into the security spire's sublevel corridor, boots silent on the humming deckplate. Alarms wailed through the full-alert lockdown, red strobes painting the walls in bloodlight. But she moved like a shadow in the gaps, 30 seconds between patrol sweeps, a protocol she'd memorized from Talon's own leaked drills. She slapped a micro-disruptor onto the first bulkhead sensor, flipping its feed to loop phantom emptiness, then ghosted forward as 2 Cathari guards rounded the corner ahead. They froze at the anomaly, their own defense grid lighting up false positives behind them. One barked into his comm, breach in Sector 7, reroute drones. The other triggered the inner gauntlet, automated turrets whirring to life, blast doors slamming in sequence meant to funnel intruders into killboxes. Mara smiled thinly in the dark. Talon's layers turned inside out. She darted low, reflexes coiling like springs, and yanked the first guard's neural jack mid-stride, severing his suit's motor links. He crumpled, twitching, as she vaulted over him into the turret's blind arc. The second guard spun, plasma carbine spitting azure bolts that scorched the air where she'd been. Mara rolled under the fire stream, her augmented grip crushing his windpipe in a precise twist, not dead, just out. The turrets locked on the intruders, now clogging their sensors, shredding the corridor in friendly crossfire. Screams echoed from deeper patrols drawn by the chaos. She slipped through the carnage, blood-slicked floors, no hindrance to her traction webs, and pried open the access shaft to the core levels. Talon's fortress, eating its own tail. Up in the command chamber, Talon Vesk stood rigid before the panoramic holoscreen, his elongated Cathari frame casting a sharp shadow over the tactical overlays. Mara's icon blinked red, asterisk terror cell prime asterisk, closing on his position. His mandibles clicked in controlled fury. Initiate broadcast, he ordered, voice steady as cryosteel. The system-wide channel flared to life, beaming to every terminal on the Institute campus and relay stations beyond. Attention, Pan-Galactic Institute. This is Director Talon Vesk. We face a singular threat. Human designate Mara Ivers, a genetically aberrant predator embedded among us. Her actions today, assaults, infiltrations, prove what our data has long predicted. Humans are not equals, but anomalies wired for dominance. Effective immediately, I declare a permanent quarantine protocol for all human students. No further admissions. Existing cohorts confined to monitored enclaves until relocation. This is not prejudice, it is preservation. The words hung in the chamber's sterile air, his optics fixed on the kill feed. Killing her would etch the narrative in blood, proof of savagery. Sparing her, an invitation for more. His claw tapped the override console, one variable to excise. Mara breached the antechamber, the broadcast droning from wall speakers like a death sentence. Quarantine. Every human kid on campus, Jace included, boxed like lab rats because of her. Her claws itched for Talon's throat to snap his spine and end it clean. But that footage would loop forever. The shy xenobiology girl turned executioner. Humanity's albatross. She overrode the final iris valve with a stolen admin spike, stepping into the command chamber as the doors hissed shut behind her. Talon turned, unarmored but poised, his augment ports glowing faintly at neck and temples. Ivers, predictable. She circled left, keeping the console between them, Hunter's gaze mapping exits, weak points. Your data missed one thing, Director, me. Alarms spiked, external feeds hijacking. Rail Nix hunkered in a purged maintenance node, fingers flying over a jury-rigged terminal. They dodged the first sweeps by sheer luck, empath senses prickling at the purged squad's approach. Now payback. Come on, you bureaucratic bastard, Rail muttered, rerouting the Spire's internal cams. Unedited loops flooded public channels. Talon's hidden labs, human students strapped to neural rigs, pain-mapped responses cataloged like vermin. Dissections masked as adaptability tests. Gasps rippled across campus feeds, Quellians, Cathari, even the stoic Vor watching the truth unspool. In the chamber, Mara glanced at the nearest screen. Talon's experiments, raw and damning. Her assault reframed, not terror reprisal. Rail, you beautiful, reckless bridge. Talon's optics narrowed, mandibles flaring. Irrelevant. The protocol enacts regardless. She lunged, faster than his modeled reflexes, pinning him against the console. Her knee drove into his midsection, cracking chitin, as her free hand sliced fiber-optic claws into his augment ports. Sparks flew, his interfaces guttered, neural feedback looping agony through his limbs. He convulsed, but she held, ripping data cores free one by one. No execution today, she hissed, voice low thunder. You live to watch this burn. Petabytes dumped, private research, provocation logs, faction memos plotting human containment. She slammed them into the public datasphere, piggybacking Institute relays to nearby systems. Strategy papers scrolled live, prove the threat, catalog the violence, justify eradication. The chamber's hollows lit with incoming queries, outrage blooming across the network. Talon's claw spasmed toward a recessed panel. You, force my hand. Deadman protocol triggered. A system chime confirmed. Restrictive statutes locked in, human quarantines formalized, admissions barred, surveillance mandates etched into galactic law. His personal empire crumbled, but the wound to humanity scarred permanent. Every future student shadowed by his final spite. Mara released him, letting his twitching form slump. She stepped back, facing the unblinking security cams deliberately. No mask, no flight. Let them see, the predator walking away from easy kill. Tell your councils, she said to the feeds, voice steady. We protect our own. With or without your permission. Sirens howled closer, reinforcements breaching outer levels. She turned, vanishing through a service hatch into the Institute's understructure, a labyrinth of forgotten conduits and steam-choked warrens. No surrender. Just the margins now, guardian in the dark, haunting threats to her scattered kin. Weeks later, in a dim-lit hab module on the human embassy fringe, Jace Morno paced before a flickering hololink. News feeds looped the Spire takedown, Mara's face, Talon's fall, the data deluge. Human space buzzed, triumph in the streets of New Damascus, fury in the halls of Sol Congress. But quarantines bit deep, exchange programs gutted. Commander Edacor's projection flickered from the link, her scarred features etched with old wars. She saved lives, Morno. Those labs were disassembly lines. Without her, we'd have ghosts, not students. Jay slammed a fist on the bulkhead, grav wrench clattering. Saved, she painted us all as monsters. Talon dead would be one thing clean, but this crippled him, leaked everything, and ghosted. Now every alien council quotes his deadman crap. Humans too volatile for integration. We're pariahs, Commander. Her methods didn't earn our place. They burned the bridge. Edda's eyes hardened, haunted by Havoc's ghosts. And if she'd stayed hidden, watched more die. HFY isn't tea parties, kid. It's teeth when they bear fangs first. She leaned closer. Mara chose the long hunt. Question is, can we stomach it? Jace sank into his chair, staring at the feed of empty human dorms. Reputation in ruins, but alive, doomed or delivered. Years passed. New human students arrived under suffocating scrutiny, whispers threading their late-night clusters. A quiet figure in the fog-shrouded underwalks, eyes like voids, claws whispering from shadows when hunters prowled too close. Bodies left broken, not dead, warnings etched in alien flesh. They called her the Margin Ghost, protection or predator. The galaxy watched, and humanity endured, wondering if survival demanded they become the fear they fled.